Hey everyone, and welcome back to A Couple of Apes. I'm your host, Drew Bonaiuto, and on this podcast, I talk to people who love what they do, unlike the majority of the population, because why are you going to spend so much time doing something you hate? It's ridiculous. So today I'm talking to Carrie Brightwell. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Excited to have you on. Let's jump right in. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What are some basics about you to paint a picture for everyone listening?
Okay, so I always like to introduce myself by what I love.
Okay.
Because that's who I am, right? It's not, oh, I'm this person, this age, I do this as a job. It's like, no, this is me.
That's true.
And my biggest joy is mornings. I love the hours before 7 a.m.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So my alarm clock goes off anywhere between 4:30 and 5:30 most days.
I've literally never set an alarm clock that early, not once.
Unless you're going to an airport, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. The world is so quiet at that time. The energies are quiet, the people are quiet, the animals are quiet, everything is quiet. And there is such a difference between how you feel at 5 a.m. versus how you feel at 7 a.m. And I am at my most productive during those hours. So I save those hours for me, just me, and what I want to do. So that's one of my biggest loves. And then comes nature. Boy, yeah. I mean, I've hiked all around the world and I talk professionally. I talk to people and I teach people about the science of nature, how nature can positively impact us physically and psychologically. And we don't go into nature necessarily for the science. We go into nature because of the way that it makes us feel, right? And I connect hugely to myself when I'm in nature. And so one of my biggest hobbies is to go out in nature in any way I can, whether it's just walking, whether it's just sitting, whether it's, like a long hike, whatever it is. I just love to be in nature.
Love it. Yeah, me too. I'm the same exact way.
And then Muay Thai. I love Muay Thai. We just had that conversation, so I don't need to go there again. And the other thing that I really, really love, other than red wine and chocolate, dark chocolate, it has to be dark chocolate, is community. People. I love people. Yeah, I love being in communities of people and being able to contribute and inspire and watching and supporting people grow in that community and the energy I get from others too.
Yeah, those all seem pretty connected. Other than the chocolate and the red wine, but those can be thrown in anyway.
Oh no, it's the essentials of life and coffee, right?
There you go.
Yeah, but as you can tell, I'm English. Don't live in England. I left England in 2016. I'm currently living in Thailand, in the north of Thailand. I normally live in the south on an island called Koh Phangan, but I'm traveling a bit at the moment. I'm location independent, so everything I do is online, and that's one of my fierce values is freedom. So yeah, I've worked very hard to create my life so that I can be location independent. And the other things I would say is that I'm just a student of life and spirituality. And I share my experiences with the world so that they too can explore their own essence of spirituality and how they want to grow into that world.
That's awesome. So how did you end up in Thailand?
I've been to Thailand a few times. My path, and I would always say this to people, no offense to anyone, but Thailand isn't my most favorite country in the world. So why do I keep ending up in Thailand? Like, why does my path keep taking me there? But this most recent time, I ended up here because I came to do yoga teacher training. So I've trained 1,000 hours in the science of yoga. And that's why I ended up in the island of Koh Phangan in the south of Thailand.
Okay.
And then, and COVID kept me here for 2.5 years. So...
Is Thailand like the go-to yoga spot, yoga learning space?
Yeah, definitely. Spiritual tourism in Thailand is very big. Yeah, it's very big, very popular. And particularly in the south, as I just said, where Koh Phangan is, there's a lot of yoga schools there, a lot of that kind of spiritual vibe going on there in the south.
Right. No, that's awesome. So tell me a little bit about your work. You said, what did you say your business is called again?
My business is called Bright Wellbeing. Do you see what I did there?
Bright Wellbeing. Love it. So what do you
Very
do at
clever.
Bright Wellbeing?
A number of things, as I'm sure many people say, but ultimately my goal is I want to help the world wake up, and I just want to help people feel happy and to feel whole. And so I'm a teacher, I'm a coach, I'm a healer, and I'm an artist. And I really support and I like people to connect to themselves by connecting to nature and also applying simplified spirituality into their lives so that they can gain a sense of purpose and gain a sense of who they really are and what they like, what they love, so that they can just feel happy. Because all of us have the ability to feel happy. We just need to know how to get there because it's already there.
No, it's so true. Yeah, we all get so wrapped up in life. We're just go, go, go. And then before you know it,
Yeah.
just stressed all the time.
Yeah. And I felt as well, I too get stressed and I too get super busy. And so I have to take my own medicine too. But
Right.
it's just evidence I'm human as well, and I practice what I preach, and I've probably been there.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So what is you gave like the summary, what does your hands-on work look like? Is it, are you communicating over the internet with people, giving them advice and having conversations?
Yeah, everything I do is online. I do some stuff in person, but my preference is to work online. And it varies anything from facilitating online workshops, so I'm teaching people, to online coaching programs or one-to-one coaching, helping people to really understand the principles, to apply them, what's relevant to them, and to guide them through that process and to help them make sense of what's happening and what they're feeling, because that's really what spirituality is. It's a feeling, right? And I also do online energy healing, and I do work in a variety of shamanic techniques. So that's a healing essence. And again, everything done online.
Right.
I don't need to be with the person, whatever work I'm doing there. And I do a lot of work, as I said, with mandalas. So that's the artist element.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I'm a mandala artist, and I teach people about the essence of what creativity is and creative energy, and how mandalas can be used to heal.
I'm gonna be honest. I want like a mandala tattoo, but I don't even completely know what it is. I just like how they look very relaxing to look at. Like it's just visually
Yes.
pleasing.
Yes.
Is there like a specific meaning to them, or?
Yes.
Okay, what is it? Educate me.
Well, first of all, I am a mandala tattoo artist.
Oh, are
So
you?
you're talking to the right person.
I don't know if I can come all the way to
Yeah.
Thailand just for that.
No, you don't have to. I can design it, send it to you, then you find someone locally.
Oh, there you go.
I've literally just finished a full back tattoo for someone.
Oh,
so I'm
wow.
very excited to
That's
get that sent
awesome.
off to them. And they're based in New Zealand. So the original gets sent, and then they find the tattoo artist.
That's very cool. Very cool.
To do the rest.
Yeah, we're gonna talk after this podcast.
Okay. But mandalas, what are they? They are the language of the universe. It's the language that you were never taught at school. We are surrounded by a sea of electromagnetism. And this electromagnetism comes from wherever beyond, and it falls into our universe, if you like. And as this electromagnetism comes in, where these waves cross, they create shapes. And those shapes are, if you could see them, if you could see this electromagnetism, those shapes are mandalas.
So this is something that's actually been, is this something that's more religious, or that's like actually been documented? Like, is there scientific basis behind this, or more of a feeling?
If you were to look at it in the realm of science, it's in quantum physics is probably the closest thing that is quantifying this stuff. But if you want to look at it from the mystical perspective, then mandalas have been used by yogis, by sages, by cultures for many, many, many eons,
That's awesome.
Mandalas are everywhere. And as this energy comes into the universe, as I say, it crosses, it takes form of shapes, and that's what we call sacred geometry.
I have heard that expression before.
Yes, yeah. So just like sound gives off a vibration
Right.
and a frequency, color gives off a vibration and a frequency, right? As do shapes. They too give off a vibration. And so when you mix all of these different shapes together, like you would mix different sounds or syllables together to create a word, you create all these shapes together to create a mandala. And all of those shapes merged together creates a specific type of resonance or frequency. And that resonance then is emitted out, and it can change your very physical being and your mental well-being as well. And as I said, mandalas are the language of the universe. Now, your consciousness doesn't recognize them as a language because you've not been taught this language, but your subconsciousness does. And as you look at shapes, whether you look at a triangle or a square or a circle or a hectagon, whatever, your eyes receive this information. And this information then stimulates your pineal gland, which is like your third eye. And this is stimulated, which then tells the hypothalamus to produce certain types of brain chemicals, neuropeptides. Those neuropeptides then flood your body, which then primes your body to heal, to regenerate, to rejuvenate. And so not only do you then get the physical healing and you prime your body for health, but you also gain the benefits of the mental well-being because it's relaxing, it's stress relieving, it's peaceful, and it literally changes your brain chemistry. And you can work with mandalas in a number of ways. You can draw them, you can color them, or you can just gaze at them.
Well, there's a lot. That's why I was like, I'm going to be honest. I want one. I don't know what it is. As expected, there was a lot more to it than I had realized. There usually is to everything in life, though, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so what I do is, yes, I draw the mandalas in the way that I do, but I teach people how to work with mandalas, how to meditate with mandalas, how to work with this creative energy.
That's really cool. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything. I got my planned questions, but now I'm so interested in all this other stuff. One thing I do find...
Just go with the flow.
Yeah,
go where the energy is taking you.
Listen. I need to record that and play that on repeat because I am very much an over-analyzer of everything. I need to know exactly where things are headed. I stress myself out with it. I definitely need to learn how to go with the flow. But
yeah.
No, I was just gonna say it's fascinating to me the way science and like spirituality or certain religious teachings are starting to meet up more and more. It seems like because. Yeah. Like way in the you look at like, for example, just because it's what I've read, you look at like real old Buddhist teachings and they're talking about meditation and how it connects everything and how it's so good for you. And science for the longest time was like, no, that's not a thing. That's not. And now they're like, everyone should be meditating. It's just, it's so funny how a lot of these things are becoming more and more connected, whether you want to call it, your soul, your energy, spirituality, or science. It's it all and it seems to meet up eventually in one way or another.
Yeah. I mean, it was always there. Spirituality has always been there because of the essence of what it actually is. And science is only just now starting to prove what all the spiritualists or yogis or whoever have been practicing for millennia.
Yeah. And it makes sense because they didn't have all our modern distractions back then. They were able to really focus on, what they were working on, what they were discovering, and it makes sense they would have figured out.
This is the point of meditation, and this is the point of spiritual practice. It's to come away from the distractions and the noise of the world to connect back to the very essence of what you are, so that you can see, you can become the eagle rather than being the mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where I was going to go with that, but yeah.
It sounded good, so.
Yeah, right. We'll go with that. Yeah. So it's not. Yeah, that was it. You were saying like, oh, they didn't have all the distractions back then. No, they didn't. And you could say that, life or meditation is harder these days, if you like, because there are so many distractions. And part of the chore or part of the pleasure, however you look at it, is to practice removing yourself from these distractions. And when you do learn that, and when you're able to connect in whatever way you choose, then you're able to connect to a level of joy that none of these distractions could ever give you. And it's only when you experience that can you actually comprehend what that actually means. And one of the things that I teach about when I do teach about meditation, yes, with the mandalas or any other form of meditation, is you need to understand exactly what meditation is, because many people have a preconceived idea, which is what puts them off, right? So if I say to you, right, Drew, I want you to meditate for 10 minutes, what are you going to do?
Well, first I'm going to tell you I can't do it. And then, because I try and I struggle. But, it's you cross the legs, you're just supposed to not think of anything, which the second I try to do that, especially with my ADHD, my brain starts thinking about the most random stuff on the planet.
Yeah. So these are the preconceived ideas of what meditation is, and they are meditation myths. So meditation isn't something that you do. Meditation is something you become, a state that happens to you as a result of you doing something in order to get you there. And according to the yogis, there are 4 stages before you can actually get into a meditative state. And what you do in those 4 stages is up to you. So, for example, you might choose to draw a mandala. You might choose to color in a mandala, which is why I work really strongly with these, because it's such a focused and easy thing to do in order to get you to a meditative state, right? You might choose to dance, to swim, to sing, to do the washing up. All of these things are acts that get you to a meditative state. And the stages that the yogis talk about is, first of all, it's pratyahara, which is withdrawing yourself from the distractions of the world, right? What do you do to withdraw yourself? Well, it might be I pick up my pen, I pick up my paper, and I start to draw. My focus is in on the mandala. And the next thing is swadhyaya. So when you're doing this thing, you don't try to stop the thoughts from coming, because if you think that meditation is to stop the thoughts, then you're setting yourself up for failure, because you're never going to stop the thoughts.
Right.
Because by universal law, they will always come, because that's the state of the universe. Thoughts will always come. But what swadhyaya asks you to do is to observe those thoughts as they come. And then you go into the point of, okay, so I've withdrawn my senses. I'm noticing what's happening in my mind. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus my mind on something to try and elongate the space between those thoughts. And again, that focus might be breathing in and out through the nose and feeling the breath coming in. It might be just noticing where you feel heat or something in the body. It might be drawing the mandala. It might be noticing how your body feels as you're listening to this music. It could be anything. And then as you focus with your senses withdrawn inwards, then you get into a state of meditation.
It makes a lot more sense, because when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I was really big into nature photography. I ended up being a professional photographer for a little while, doing portraits and stuff. But before that, what kickstarted that was nature photography. And I would go out into state parks for hours. And so if I wasn't doing the nature photography, I had 10 minutes before I was I need to put on a movie or a video game or some music or something. But when I was doing the nature photography, I would just be walking around so focused on what I was doing, but relaxed at the same time. And it's funny because once I started learning I became really interested in Buddhism a couple of years ago. Once I started learning about a lot of things they were talking about, I I was like, I think I was technically meditating when I was doing my nature photography, because I would always feel so relaxed after and connected.
Yes. Yeah. And by the essence of, or the very thing that nature is, we naturally get into those states.
Right.
Because when we are in nature, it is the only place and the only time where we fully engage all five senses. So when you fully engage all five senses, it's the only time where you're going to feel fully alive. And this is why nature is so important to me. And as I said to you, we don't go into nature because of what the science tells us. We go into nature because of how it makes us feel. And there are scientific reasons, or there's physiological reasons, there's psychological reasons as to why nature calms you down and why it helps you to connect to something bigger than yourself.
Sure.
And why you feel more creative and you feel more productive and you feel more alive than you ever have when you've been in nature. But we need another 2 hours for me to describe all of that to you. I could go into the spiel about nature and
right. Well, I have another podcast that's about natural living and like reconnecting with stuff. So I'm gonna have to get you on that at some point.
I would love to, because I could talk about nature for hours.
Oh, I could too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's just, it all makes sense because, I mean, we're originally from nature. We're not supposed to be in these environments. So we're going back to our home. So, I mean, early humans would have, obviously, they didn't have, indoors wasn't invented yet. They were always outside.
Exactly. You know, and a real simple example that everyone will be able to connect to, I'm sure, right? Unless you really live so urban that, well, even then you would know what I'm talking about. Bird song. So as I said, we engage with the five senses, one of them being hearing, right? And when we hear bird song, our mind takes this as a sign of safety and security. Because you know the saying, you know, when you can hear the birds, everything is okay. If you can't hear the birds, then there's a predator around, or there is some kind of risk or danger around, because that's why the birds shut up,
For
right?
some reason, I've never thought about this.
Yeah, but when you hear the bird song, your brain says safety and security. So naturally, your cardiovascular system reduces, your heart rate reduces, your blood pressure reduces. Everything starts to slow down. Your parasympathetic nervous system starts to kick in and your sympathetic nervous system starts to relax. So you naturally become less stressed. You naturally become more relaxed, more calm, just by listening to birdsong. And where do you find birdsong? In nature, mostly. But you can also simulate it, because you can also play it on Spotify or on your laptop or whatever.
Yeah.
And you'll get the same physiological and psychological reactions.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know. I think a lot of us, I know a lot of people don't think of humans as animals, but the truth is we're simply a mammal, and you know, all animals have deep-rooted instincts built in, and it's very interesting. I never thought about how we would have in the past slowly learned that when birds are quiet, it's bad. Therefore, when we hear birds, that means safety, peace, relaxation.
And you know, then you can go into, well, how looking at nature reduces stress, increases creativity, how smelling nature, as I said, we need 2 hours to go over all of this, but all of the senses, it calms us down. It makes us more creative. It makes us more productive. It makes us more energetic. It makes us more connected. It makes us more productive. All of our cognitive functions improve as a result of being in nature, because of all of the things that it does to us. Yeah. And because we are, as a society, well, actually, in 2008, there was a tipping point. From 2008, more people were living in urban environments than they were in rural environments. Mm-hmm. And because of this shift, we are very, very fastly approaching to completely disconnecting ourselves from nature.
Yeah.
And the amount of psychological and physiological trauma and disease and illness and conditions and everything that are as a result because we have disconnected. And we are at risk as a race. We are at risk of starting to lose our evolved senses that help us to naturally reduce the stress hormones and to reduce the stress reactions in our bodies. We're losing that ability because we're so far removed from nature as a whole.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. You know, if you get muscles and then you don't use them, they go away.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of thing. How long have you been doing this kind of work for? When did you become interested in this, and when did you start doing it professionally?
I put a post up on Facebook today, actually. Google reminded me of all these places that I've traveled in the world. And it called this little show reel Into the Wild. And it showed me all these countries where I was hiking and I was in nature. And it's like, and even when I went to university, I studied environmental biology. And I never really knew then why, why did I study it? I just really like it. So it seems like I innately knew and understood and felt the connection that I had with nature. But really, my spiritual awakening kind of started in about 2015, 2016. And then I got the massive slap around the face in about 2017.
Yeah.
And that was not really that long ago. And since that year, I have massively transformed and evolved as a person and how I view the world and how I see the world. And I decided then that, well, I've always been a teacher of something, right? I'm a natural born teacher. And I'm trained in so many things and I teach so many things. This is just like the next natural thing for me to do. So I've been working in the realm of coaching and teaching and healing for a number of years now. I'd say maybe 3 or 4 years. Yeah, but a teacher forever.
Right.
Whether it be yoga, whether it be personal training, whether it be, I don't know, in corporates. I have had a corporate history.
Oh, have you?
Yes. Yeah.
I wonder if I should, let me jump ahead a little and ask, what jobs did you have before this?
Far too many to talk about. So far too many. Like, I remember once, right? Oh gosh. I remember once I applied for MI5. Am I allowed to say that? Yeah.
Did
I don't
you?
know, MI5. I did, yeah. And then they asked for your entire job history. And this was many years ago. Oh gosh, in the early 2000s. And I had over 100 jobs by that point, I've literally done everything from cleaning toilets through to sitting in boardrooms, in corporates, designing corporate strategy on how we're going to achieve X, Y, Z, everything in between, Yeah.
Wow. That is quite a variety. So
yes, indeed.
It's probably a good sign that you ended up on this after, test driving all those different things.
Well, that's exactly it, right? My belief and the way I view the world is that we come here with a purpose, right? Our soul already knows and has agreed and has potentially signed contracts before coming here, manifesting here in this world. And sometimes we give ourselves these challenges, these circumstances, these situations, not sometimes, all the time, that we have to deal with or we have to experience in order to learn a lesson. And I really believe that for me, I know that for me, I had to experience all of that and sometimes endure some of that in order to be able to talk the way I do now and to be able to work with the people that I do now, because yes, I've done it and I've grown through it, and I know what you're talking about. I've had those feelings that you're experiencing.
Yeah, I think that's very helpful to see, like for myself, as an entrepreneur where I'm, putting in 10-hour days, 7 days a week, whatever it is, just go, go, go.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
if you were someone that grew up in like extreme privilege, spent your whole life focusing on meditating because you didn't have to worry about anything else, and you're telling me that I need to just relax, calm down, go out in nature, I'd be like, yeah, but you don't know what it's like, But at least you've had that perspective. I think that would probably really help people absorb everything you're saying.
Yeah, and I'm a living example as well, because one of your questions you ask about, are you content? No, I'm not. I too am an entrepreneur. I too have huge, big, grandeur dreams, bigger than, well, they probably need to get bigger. But I have huge dreams. I have huge goals. Do I settle? No, I don't, because this is how we grow in the world. This is how we make our contribution. This is how we align with our purpose. And so I have to apply my principles too. I get as busy and as stressed and as overwhelmed as everybody else does. I just know what's going to work and what's not going to work to help me out.
Yeah, it's nice to hear that too, because sometimes I've struggled with when I am researching stuff, looking up to different experts, meditation, Buddhist master, all that sort of thing. A lot of them have 100% dedicated their life to connecting with everything, like 100%.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it sounds lovely, but I've got like a ton of missions I'm on, a ton of things I want to achieve. So it's good to hear that you two are, it sounds like you found that balance that I've been looking for, where I'm trying to be more relaxed and yet go, go, go kind of,
Yeah. And having dreams and moving forward in the way that lights up your heart is the most important thing.
This podcast is brought to you by Ape, which makes a whole lot of sense because I co-own Ape. So Ape is an all-natural and eco-friendly skincare company where we believe that the health of our customers and the health of the planet should always, always come before profit. Why wouldn't it? What is with these sketchy companies out there? We only make safe, natural, healthy, and eco-friendly products. So if you need any sort of skincare products, moisturizers, beard care products, bath and body products, we got soap, we got lip balm, we got all sorts of stuff going on. So head over to apebrand.co and you can find us at apebrand on social media.
This is everything that your podcast is about, right? Which is why I was like, oh, it's funny that we've connected. Well, not really. Nothing is a coincidence. I do not believe in coincidences. But, Sean Aker is a fabulous author of this. And this really is like the fundamentals of positive psychology. But I particularly like Sean Aker, where he talks about the happiness advantage. And he states that happiness is a precursor to success. Everyone thinks that once you're successful, you become happy, but it's not. It's the other way around. If you're happy, you become successful.
Right.
Because our brains are hardwired to have maximum performance when we've got the happiness chemicals flowing, when we've got the serotonin and the dopamine flowing, we become more switched on, more energized, more productive. We can think clearer. We can memorize things better. We can recall better. We can make or find solutions to problems quicker and easier, when we are happy.
Yeah, I can say firsthand without having heard what you just said and having read any science behind it, I could say for sure the less happy I am, the less productive I am, the worse my work is, and the slower my business is growing. Versus if I'm in a good headspace, everything just seems like it's lining up and going. Yeah,
because literally is the way that your brain is hardwired and how the chemicals work. But also, when people talk about manifestation and manifesting things in their life, in order to manifest, there are certain criteria anyway, but in order to manifest, you can only manifest that which you can see, which you can visualize, which you can imagine in the brain, because everything starts as a thought. You know, those thoughts I was telling you about earlier with meditation, that you try to stop them, you can't stop them.
Right.
Because by the very essence of breathing, we are breathing in thoughts, if you like, in a very simplified manner. But we breathe in this electromagnetism, this prana, and it's this prana that brings us the information from the universe. And this information then becomes our thoughts, right? And then our thoughts then create the vision, the image. And it's from this image that then we create something into physical form in this world. So in order to manifest, we need to be able to visualize and imagine. In order to do that, you need to be able to daydream, and you need to have imagination.
Right.
And in order to dream, you need to be happy. If you are not happy, you cannot see the possibility and the potential in front of you. You can't. So happiness is the beginning and start of everything.
No, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, first-hand experience with that. I actually went through like a real, you're gonna have to excuse me while I'm fidgeting. For some reason, I'm all like fidgety today, and it just happens. But went through like a couple-year rough period where me and my fiance, we were just struggling with stuff that we were working on. It seemed like a lot of things were going wrong, and I actually noticed that my creativity, I'm a very creative person, my creativity like vanished, and it actually like really freaked me out. I was like, I don't need it right now with what we're working on, because we were working on starting a nonprofit, an animal sanctuary, so it was a lot of building, stuff like that. I don't need creativity to build, a house for cows, but I was like, is it actually gone? Am I going to get it back once I'm done with this and I want to get back to my creative work? So yeah, I can say firsthand multiple times I've noticed that just the shift when you are stressed and unhappy in the brain.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, creativity, what is it? Creativity is Kundalini energy, the purest form of Kundalini energy. And we are a channel, we are a circuit board, if you like, for this energy that comes into our universe. And if you don't allow this creative energy to flow through you, then it stays stuck in you and it starts to turn on you. And it can turn into physical illness, or it can turn into mental concerns or mental issues,
Right.
And if creativity is not coming, it's because you are not connecting to that flow that is already there. You are disconnecting from the flow of creative energy. So it's about recognizing what that flow of Kundalini feels like, what creative energy feels like, and knowing what environmental factors you need to have in order to enable you to connect again to that flow, because it's always there. Mm-hmm.
Before you mentioned, we're just jumping all over the place here. We'll see if I can keep track of these questions after. Before you talked about how you've got big goals. So let me jump ahead to that one. Going forward, what are you hoping to accomplish? The next part is, are you already where you're at? But we already know you're not. So what is there like a specific big goal, or just constant growth, or what is it for you?
Now, there are specific goals that I have, that what I really want to do. For me, I want to live in New Zealand. I just do. But as I said, I want to make the world I want to help the world wake up, and I want to help people feel happy, and I want to help people feel whole. And to do that by helping them understand what this world of spirituality really is. And for them to take what I can share, to take what they want and to apply it to themselves and feel the effect. And my big grand dream, one of the things that I would really like to do is, which is what I'm working towards, is to set up yoga hikes or happy hikes. So I'm taking people out on single day, multi-day hikes across the hills, across the mountains, wherever, and really helping people to slow down and to connect to nature so that they can actually connect back to themselves.
That sounds
Because when you connect back to yourself, you then know who you are. You feel who you are. And then through this feeling, you start to connect to that sense of purpose, to your true will, to what it is that you came here in this world to do. Everyone says, oh, I wish I had a better sense of purpose. I wish I knew what my purpose was. Oh, I wish I had more purpose to my day. And they try to figure it out. But understanding what your purpose is a feeling. You have to feel your way to it. And you can't feel your way to it if you don't know who you are, if you don't connect to yourself. And the quickest way to connect to yourself is to connect to nature.
Love it. It all makes sense.
Yeah. And I want to do that through also creating community as well. So I want to start to build the Bright Wellbeing community, and just get people to, as I say, understand and navigate this realm of the mystical and the magical, and what it is, and to take what's relevant for them, because everyone's path is very different, and my path has gone crazy. That's my path,
right?
And I don't expect anyone to go down my path.
Right. Seems like a lot of people try to oversimplify things, not realizing just how unique we all are, how unique all our experiences are going to be. We're all going to come at it from a different angle based on our experience, our goals, what's happened to us, what hasn't happened to us.
There's some fundamental principles that can be shared. Right. But again, you apply that principle and then you wait to experience the impact and the effect, because that is what is going to be subjective for you. But also, it's like buying a bag of sweets. We all have jelly babies, or we all have jelly beans, but what flavor do we prefer? So for me, it's magic and shamanism, and it's yoga, sometimes, but very rarely, breath work. It's not my favorite thing. But for other people, it might be self-help books and going on a Tony Robbins weekend and doing this. Everyone is ultimately helping people to get to the same point, just in a very different way, in a very different flavor.
Right.
It's like meditation. There are so many ways that you can get into that state. It just depends what's suitable for you.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, especially that meditation thing, because it's something I want to do so badly, and I've tried a handful of times the traditional, sit down, just sit there, try to clear your mind when thoughts come in, just get rid of it, clear your mind again, focus on your breathing, and it just, especially with my ADHD, just like sitting there in the quiet like that, it doesn't seem to mesh well with who I am.
Yeah. One of the things that I always recommend for those people with ADHD is journaling. Have you ever tried journaling?
Not really. Why do you recommend that?
Because generally, there's a lot going on in the mind for you, right? There's a lot happening, which is an indication that there's a lot stored in the mind. And it doesn't have an opportunity to release, to get out. So there is something unfinished. There is something not done, or there's not an outlet for what is rattling around in the mind. And when you start to journal, you create that outlet. You give that opportunity for whatever is inside to... And journaling is a wonderful way to help alleviate those symptoms.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, that really does. That adds up, because there are just thoughts that just seem to be constantly going through, and yeah, it's just that constant cycle. So yeah, any way to get them out.
And what journaling does is the very act of writing, right? And when you're journaling, there are no rules. Like, it doesn't have to be complete words. It doesn't have to be complete sentences. There's no need for full stops or anything, right? You don't even need to be able to read it. No one does. But just the act of putting pencil or pen to paper, that very thing slows the mind down. And it also helps you to connect to a deeper level of thought, because you are slowing down and you are going down a certain rabbit hole, and you kind of stay going down that rabbit hole. You connect to a deeper level, and you also start to get to the root of where these thoughts are coming from. So you connect to yourself on a much deeper way than you would by just thinking. And you're slowing the mind down, and you're creating this outlet. And everything, for me personally, when I journal, everything just seems to be clearer and makes more sense.
Yeah, I'm going to have to give that a shot. I'm going to have to get back to like the nature photography or something similar. Maybe just like general.
Yeah.
I mean, are you familiar with, I'm not sure if I know how to say his name, Thich Nhat Hanh?
Yes.
Yeah, he talks about like walking meditation. That was how I started to self-evaluate the nature photography, because once he started talking about that, I was like, oh, was I doing that? So yeah. Maybe I'll try that again.
And again, it's another one of those things, right? Find what suits you, find what works for you. And walking meditation, you can focus on the sensations that you're feeling in the bottom of your feet, or you can focus on what's happening in your hips, or you can just focus on what you can see as you're walking. Or maybe you focus on the energy exchange that's happening between you and the earth as your feet touch the floor. Or you focus on the sounds that you can hear as you're walking. And there's such variety, even in just that activity.
Yeah.
Find what works for you.
So what originally, we are technically still on question 2 out of 12, by the way.
Okay.
I'll navigate this better. We did jump ahead on a couple, so we're good. What pushed you towards this work? What was originally like the motivating factor?
Sometimes in this world, we have no choice. I mean, no, we always have choice. But some people have destinies or paths or purposes that are very powerful and will drag them down it no matter what.
You just feel, looking back, you feel like you're always headed towards this?
Absolutely, yeah. Even if I didn't know it,
right.
I did know it in a way, like I knew that my corporate teaching career was just, again, building my foundations to be a teacher of life and spirituality for people, But really, it was my personal spiritual awakening that pushed me into this, because the pain that I experienced, I experienced the same as what majority of population did. My upbringing wasn't favorable. It wasn't necessarily positive in any way. Trauma, covert abuse, whatever, the list goes on. And then through my spiritual awakenings, being able to observe the behaviors that I had taken part in order to try and suppress all of those feelings and emotions, and then seeing or feeling a different way, and seeing that there is a different way of being, and that seeing the illusion, if you like, for what it is, there was just no way that I could just not share it, because it just made sense. And as I said to you, when you understand your purpose, it's a feeling.
Right.
And you can't deny that feeling, because if you deny that feeling, then you're just creating misery and resistance and more pain in your life.
Yes, that's...
And then what the soul... Sorry.
No, I was going to say that, that's part of this podcast. Everyone's got their passions and their dreams, and then they push it away for a paycheck, which of course you need money to survive. But if you work your way up to it, you can get a paycheck from what you love.
Absolutely. And again, you need to know who you are. You need to learn how to connect to yourself so that you can connect to what it is that you love. Now, here's an exercise that everyone can do. Take a piece of paper and a pen and start to write down 20 things that you love to do. Many people won't be able to get to 20. Now, if you can't get to 20, That's because you don't know who you are anymore. You're disconnected from your very self. That's not a bad thing, right? It's just an indication that, oh, maybe I might like to reconnect to myself and need to relearn about who I am and what I love and what brings me joy in this world. And then when we manage to make that connection and know who we are and know what lights us up, then we can purposely start to inject joy and happiness into every single day that we live. And as I just said, everything is a choice. Everything is a choice. You know, I have so many people say to me, oh, Carrie, you're so lucky that you live in Thailand. No, I chose to live in Thailand. I chose to leave my home. I chose to leave my friends and my family. And I chose to travel halfway around the world. I also chose not to have children so that I could be this location independent. And you absolutely can with children, but it's my choice to do it not, you know? Oh yeah, but you're so lucky that, no, it's a choice. You could choose to leave your husband and your children behind and do exactly what I did, but you're choosing not to.
Right, right.
Choice.
Right.
Choice. But in order to make the choices that light up our lives, we have to know what those things are. Yeah.
I mean, normally I try to respond with like adding on to it, but yeah, I mean, that's all I got is yeah right now.
Yeah. And then if you can't think of 20 things, it's because, as I said, you kind of lost your boundaries. You've lost sense of who you are, and you're too busy, you're too busy making other people happy, putting other people's priorities first, merging yourself with someone else, or believing that you need someone else in order to be happy. Mm-hmm. And all you have to do is go on an adventure of exploration, trying things. You know, where does your curiosity lie?
Yeah, absolutely. I follow this entrepreneur called Gary V. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Oh, I love Gary V.
Oh, do
love
you?
Him.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
great.
Yeah.
So yeah, he talks about if you don't know what you want to do, just start doing stuff. Just try stuff, and then that's how you figure out. You don't know until you try it.
Exactly. It's a process of elimination.
Yeah.
Everything is research in the world, right?
Yeah.
Try it. I liked it. I'll do it again. Try it. Didn't like it. I ain't going to do that again. Okay. Everything is research.
Yeah. No, it absolutely is. All right. What do I have next? Let me evaluate what we've actually covered here, because we have jumped around. All right. We're doing pretty good. We've actually covered like half of these, even though I didn't ask them. So you took this podcast and you ran with it. Excellent. I love it. Less work for me. Have you had any mental or physical health issues that you had to push through to get where you are now?
Well, of course. Yeah, absolutely. You know, this is what kick-started everything, you know. As I said, my childhood was on a par to many, quite frankly, unpleasant. You know, abandonment, misery, covert abuse, all of that stuff, lack of love, lack of affection, just trauma ridden, if you like. And as I said before, everything starts as a thought, right? So every physical ailment that we experience is a result of an emotion that we are not willing to let go of or not willing to discreate. And as a result of the trauma that I experienced, I developed physical illness as well. And one of those things still stays with me today, but it's just a sign that I've still got work to do. I've still got stuff to process. I've still got work. Yeah, I've still got work to do, and that's okay.
Yeah. Because
everything is a journey. And I wholeheartedly believe 100% that every physical and mental condition can be cured and overcome. Mm. All you need to do is get to the root of the problem and discreate that emotion. Allow that emotion, welcome that emotion to be, and then let it pass. Because we're here to do three things in this world, right? Pure awareness, which is what we are. We are just pure awareness. We're consciousness manifested in physical form. But consciousness only does three things. It only has three objectives: to create, to experience, and to discreate. So we create these emotions, this energy. We experience those emotions. And then once that emotion has been felt and experienced, the energy is meant to pass, and therefore it's done. That's the point of discreation. But what we do is our ego will say, oh, that's a negative emotion, a negative experience. I don't want to experience it. So rather than fully experiencing with enthusiasm, we stop that experience and we say, oh, I don't want that pain, or oh, I don't want that grief, or oh, I don't want that anger. And we suppress it and we push it down. And we suppress it in our subconscious, but we also suppress the energy physically in our bodies as well. And that energy then crystallizes in the DNA. And that's how emotions get stuck in our body. And that's how emotions get stuck in our psyche and repeated patterns of behavior.
Well,
so unless we are willing to go back to those emotions and allow them to really fully come up and welcome them with enthusiasm, like our consciousness wanted us to do in the first place, only then can we release them and let them go. And it's then that the physical ailments can start to heal themselves, because the emotion is no longer stuck in the body.
You pretty much just straight up described me, except for the releasing and letting go part.
Which, it's not nice to go to those places, right? That's why we bloody suppressed them in the first place.
Absolutely.
It's horrible.
It is.
And and I say to everyone, we have to go to the place that we fear the most if we're ever to let this go.
Do you ever have days that you're really struggling with your profession where you start to think maybe I'd be better off with like just a simple 9 to 5, less stress, less pressure, I don't have to do my own thing?
No is the answer. I often go back to the memory of the fake security of a salary and the security of money coming at the end of every month, and I allow myself to wallow in that for a short while sometimes, but not once do I think to myself I would be better off in a 9 to 5, because I was there for many years and I sold my soul, literally. I signed a piece of paper that gave away my power to somebody else who was then able to dictate when and how I lived my life between the hours of 9 to 5.
Right.
I gave my power to someone else willingly.
Right. Yeah. You're either following your own dreams or following someone else's dreams for them.
Yeah. And I dictate my life now. As I said to you, one of my biggest values is freedom. And that means to be who I am, to do what I want to do, to go where I want to go, whenever I choose. So a 9 to 5 doesn't allow for that. And I will never sell my soul again. And I will never allow myself to experience that pain ever again. I've done it and I won't do it again. And it's that propelled me to leave that life behind, because the misery I was experiencing during that time, nothing to do with the corporate, nothing to do with the job, everything to do with me not listening to my soul, and everything to do with me not listening to my purpose and feeling my way through life. I listened to other people and I allowed other people to tell me what my life should be like. Right?
Yeah.
And then when the soul, when you're not listening to your soul, the soul creates chaos. It purposely creates chaos so that you create cracks in your life. And you know what they're like. Those are the moments that you're on the bathroom floor crying your eyes out because you can't do this anymore, right? That's an example.
No, I went through a period at an early job where I was, near the end of it, every day on the way to work, I was crying.
Yeah. Me too. I was putting my shoes on to go to work, crying to figure out how on earth I was going to get through the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's those moments that your soul is then able to speak to you. So if you're not listening, it will create this chaos so that you have no choice but to hear.
Forces its way out.
And it was then that I realized, and it was then that I took my power back. And it was then that I swore never would I do that again. Never. So no, I don't think that anymore.
That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
I hope people are absorbing everything you're saying. So far, what are you, the fifth podcast? It's roughly the same response of absolutely not, never again from everyone else that I've talked to too. It's amazing how much better it is to be able to control things yourself and do what you love.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's bigger than that. It's not just about being able to control when you can go and pick the kids up from school, or you can dictate what hours you work, or you can dictate what country you work from. It's bigger than that. It's about connecting to you as a person and connecting to your purpose that you and the value that you have to deliver to this world.
Right.
It's about connecting to that and doing that and delivering on that.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what we're here to do, to have fun.
Yeah.
And to deliver our gifts to the world.
Right.
And you can't necessarily do that when you're being restricted by a bloody office with aircon literally sucking the energy and life out of you, and someone telling you when you can go on your lunch break and this and that. It doesn't allow for creativity.
Yep. Yeah.
It doesn't allow for freedom, for flow of energy. No, it doesn't allow you to explore or experiment. It doesn't allow you to follow the energy. You know, when you said, oh, no, go with the conversation goes, allow the energy to flow. You know?
Right.
It doesn't allow for that.
Yeah.
So it's bigger than being able to take the dog for a walk during your lunch break.
Right. No, it's true. It's so true. If you could tell the younger version of yourself one thing to help them on their journey to reach where you are today, what would it be?
You are capable of so much more than you could ever imagine. And you have everything that you need to become more than what you can possibly dream of.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And one of my little sayings that I say to people, to clients, my little motto is be now what it is that you wish to become, and be now what it is that you already are, because you have everything. You don't need anything else other than to connect.
Yeah, that's a good one. That would have helped me as a kid too. So figure out how to go back in time and tell both of us that.
Yeah, right. And also to follow the feeling, to trust and follow the feeling. So important.
Yeah.
And that goes for everybody, even right now, not just the younger self, but everybody right now, you know. Where do your curiosity lie? Where do your curiosities lie? What are those things that you always wish that you could try? What are those things that you are envious of other people of? What are those things that you look at, you get this urge to do that, but nah. You know, really, where are the feelings for you? Whether you're denying them or not, just notice the feelings, because that is the indication of where it is that you should go. That's where your soul is taking you, or wants you to go, suggesting you should. That is an indicator of what it is that you're here to do. Follow the feeling.
Follow the feeling. I think that is an excellent line to end things on here. And now for some random questions that I asked at the beginning of the podcast. All right, what's your favorite movie or one of your favorite movies?
Oh, no. Oh, no. Can I lie?
Sure. No. Wait. Oh, is this an oh no because you don't want to share?
No, because I don't want people to get wrong. Okay, all right. I really like The Holiday, which is a Christmas movie.
I don't think I've seen it, but I think I know what it is.
Yeah, I really like The Holiday, and oh no, I love Twilight.
Oh no. Should I you want me to title the podcast episode "I Love Twilight" and with your name next to it?
No. Next.
Do you have a favorite band or a favorite song?
I love such a huge genre of music.
Right.
It's really, and I often think about this, like, what is my favorite song in the world? And I can't. I just can't.
I'm kind of the same
I
way.
love so many. I mean, what I can tell you is the song that I'm listening to the most at the moment, which is, if I open my Spotify, I'll be able to tell you, Stereophonics, but I can't remember the name of it. Yeah. Stereophonics. I Want to Get Lost With You. I love that. Oh, starts playing it.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to get copyright rights to that.
Yeah. Oh God, she's playing it again. There we go. Can't use my app. But there, Stereophonics. I Want to Get Lost With You. That's the one that I'm listening to the most at the moment.
I'll have to check that out. If you can go on vacation right now for free instead of having to talk to me anymore, where would you go?
New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Yes.
Why there?
It's a phenomenal place, a phenomenal country with phenomenal landscape. As we talk, you'll get to know that I'm like all about the nature, all about the landscape, all about the connecting to self through nature. And I've had just the most phenomenal experiences in New Zealand. And if it wasn't New Zealand, then it would probably be somewhere in South America because I've never been there yet.
No. Yeah. No, I've always wanted to go to New Zealand and South, pretty much anywhere. I don't get out much, so I'd like to go anywhere.
Yeah, I've traveled a lot and it's my favorite country.
Is it? Yeah?
Yeah, by far. Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to check it out now. What is your favorite thing to do in your free time? Do you have any hobbies?
Yes, many. Hiking, walking, so anything in nature. Second up is Muay Thai. So I train Muay Thai 4 or 5 times a week. No, okay, I'm lying. 5 or 6 times a week. Yeah, Muay Thai. Those are my 2 favorite things to do. And then people watch, sitting in cafes, drinking coffee, people.
That's always very
and drawing.
Interesting.
Oh God, I've got a lot. And drawing.
This is a long list.
Yeah, I draw.
You just keep going.
What do you want? Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I could picture Muay Thai. What is there any way to describe it? Like, is there a specific style to it?
Muay Thai is Muay Thai. It's a martial art that involves punching and kicking. I'm just trying to think. It's a bit like kickboxing, but not.
Okay.
Because it's Muay Thai.
Yeah, I think I've seen it before. I don't have to look it up, though. This year, I plan on taking some sort of martial arts class to get out of my comfort zone. Okay. So I'll have to, I'm going to have to start researching all of them, see what I want to do.
Martial arts is just the most fantastic thing, in my opinion. It's a very connecting and spiritual experience. And you get so much more than just the physical work, so much more.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. It's I find it fascinating because it doesn't seem like it'd be like a deep, I don't know, for some people it seems like actually like spiritual or like practically religious. Because it's funny because it's fighting, which when you don't break it down, it sounds like the opposite of that. But does it come down to just like the headspace you get in while you're doing it? It's like a Zen sort of thing.
No, so I've even got a tattoo of this. You can't see it right now, but it's I translated the Chinese proverb into Thai, and the Chinese proverb is "Stand like mountain, move like water." Because for me, when I'm practicing Muay Thai, it is the perfect reflection of my life. So it shows me where I need to stand strong, stand my ground, create foundation and not shift, not move, not show fear and keep moving forward. But yet it also shows me how power does not come from strength. Power comes from the ability to shift and be agile and to move and to flow, because the energy needs to be flowing if you're going to receive the power.
Right.
And if you're tense, then the energy can't flow and no power comes. And it doesn't come from brute force. It doesn't come from muscles. So you really have to learn how to stand strong, but yet be fluid enough to move. And it shows me exactly where in my body I'm too tense, and therefore where in my life I'm too tense.
Well, I was just going to say, that seems like it could be a real good metaphor for, views that you hold and just mental attitude. Like you should have your morals, you should have your beliefs, but once you get, and you should stand strong with them, but once you get new information, once you start to learn new things, you should be willing to shift if you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and there's so much history and spiritual connection and magical connection with Muay Thai. If you get the right teacher and they explain it to you in the right and appropriate way, then you can connect to the authenticity of it. And as I say, to the essence of where it originates from. And again, if you get the right teacher, they will always say to you that Muay Thai is a form of protection. It was developed and evolved in order to protect their country. So therefore, it's not necessarily something to use as a form of aggression. It's protection. And you should always ask yourself, like, why am I fighting? Why am I training? I'm training to protect myself and my loved ones. I'm not training to kill or to hurt.
So I want to thank you so much for being on.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Really, thank you very much for having me and for allowing me to share. And I really hope that it's touched someone in some way or inspired somebody in some way, because as you can tell, I'm quite passionate about
I can.
this.
That's excellent. It's a good thing to be passionate about. That's for sure. All right. Well, I want to talk to you more, but I'm going to end this podcast now. So thank you everyone for listening. If you're watching this on YouTube, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing, all that good stuff. And then podcast platforms, if you could subscribe, and apparently leaving a review helps us get out there more. And I definitely want to get all these messages out there as much as possible. So thanks for listening, everyone.